that young Amabagay remain on stage as I invite Yang Mabagay Tan Sri Rais Yatim, Yang Mabagay Tan Sri Norian Mai, and Professor Michelle Chossudovsky to join our guest of honor on stage for the launch of Professor Chossudovsky's book titled The Globalization of War, America's Long War Against Humanity. It is my pleasure to invite young Amabagay and Dr. Mahathir to proceed to the right of the stage, where the book will be unveiled and signed by our guest of honor. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The book by Professor Michelle Chossudovsky, The Globalization of War, America's Long War Against Humanity. Described, it tags the origin of a long series of wars and conflicts from the end of World War II to the present as being direct products of U.S. foreign policy. Nothing happens by accident. U.S. provocateurs, usually agents of the CIA, incite one conflict after another. That is what Professor Chossudovsky labels America's long war against humanity.
This is an introduction to this video here that I'm going to put out. It's just to give you a little bit of an understanding of what's going on here from what I see. First, a weather report here in Canada. In my neck of the woods here, some of you might be able to relate and some won't, so here it is. Yeah, I just wanted to show you here in Canada the freezing rain that we have at 9:30 in the morning here. On the 25th of March here. So this is part of my introduction to the video that I'm going to be posting. Ice on the trees. I just wanted to show you guys here in Canada. Out my front window here. I've already been out there once there, but the wind's picking up, so we'll probably lose power here. Pray for us. God bless here from Canada. So, you saw what kind of weather that we're going to have, and I would dare say that we're going to have power outage because it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, and the freezing rain is sticking to the trees and the power lines, and only God willing, I'm not going to lose my power, but God decides everything, eh? So I just thought I'd do a little bit of an introduction, because on this channel, all truth matters. And there's so much stuff online that we can't sift through it all, because you don't know what's true and what's not. But if you listen and if you looked at what's been going on here in Canada and United States and around the world, you're going to see that we're possibly, you know, the Lord's coming. Judgment is coming. So that's why I don't make too many videos like I used to make on my other channel when YouTube took it down here. I lost a couple of channels, but you know, this channel here loves all truth. And if you're new to the videos, new to the channel, scroll through my playlist. It tells you what I'm about. I hate talking and, you know, talking in front of the camera here. Just seems like vanity and everything else the Lord hates. But, I mean, you have to get your message across, and sometimes you have to see a face to the words, to the voice. So I have a playlist. I have random playlists. I have my recent videos, and it tells you what this channel is all about. And it's number one is the Lord, the timing, the end times that we're in. Whether you believe in pre-trib, post-trib, whether you think we're in the seventh seal, the fourth seal, I don't know what it is. But I'm going to tell you what I believe. It's in my playlist. You know, and I'm just going to read the scriptures and let everybody do what they want to do here. And pray for discernment, everybody. Not, you know, everybody's not growing at the same time as everybody else. I suppose if you're a new Christian just learning that everything in this world is a lie, then it's going to take you a while to see things. So I just thought that I would just make a brief introduction to this conference. It's 15 minutes long and they say a lot within it. And this was like back in March 9th, 2015. So what's been going on since then with the new world order that they're talking about, who's creating it and what's going on? Because you know, in this world, not everybody's agreeable to everything that's going on. You know that Satan is divided, his children are divided, they all want to run the show, and there's that 1%, a certain group of people that have all the truth and is making all this stuff go on. Why? To bring in the beast system, the Antichrist system. And that's where we're at. So I wanted to share this I clipped it, and I wanted to share this 15-minute video so you have an understanding of what they're saying and how not everything is black and white like you think, and not everything like, I believe nothing on the radio, the news, on TV. You know, when you look at it, because you got to look at who owns it. So just pray for discernment, and if you want to know what's more with what my channel's about, well then you know what to do. Scroll through my videos here. I know a lot of people leave my channel because they just don't love all the truth. They don't love everything. They just love 1 or 2 or 3 little things. Everything else don't matter, and they think you're a crackpot. But God knows my heart. My brothers and sisters have been with me since my growth in 7 years here. We're all together. We're on Messenger. We talk on the phone, and we confess things, and we look at things, and we pray for one another. So that's the key thing. Pray, love one another within the church, love people, you know, pray for everything, because that's what God wants us to do. So here's the video. God bless here from Canada. I hope you're awake to the time that we're in. I hope God shows you. Only God can show you. You can't understanding it. You can't believe anything unless the Lord shows you. You know, and from what I've seen online with everybody and pastors and all this stuff, that we're just bombarded, and God don't give everybody the truth. He gives them 1 or 2 things. Pastors, churches, everywhere. It's 1 or 2 things. They might have an understanding. Everything else is twisted upside down and backwards. Yep. And God has to show you. You have to be a lost sheep. You have to have an understanding. You have to have trust and faith in Him. You have to know that He's leading you, and He's showing you what He wants you to know in this world here. And I'm almost 60 years old here. So I've lived 52 and a half years in darkness. Not having a clue to what's been going on. So I had to, the Lord had to put me in a big learning thing for 7 years. And along the way, most people don't like it, you know. So I just wanted to say, pray for one another, love one another, study things out, and when you hear new things, ask the Lord if that's really what He wants you to know, if it's really the truth. A lot of babes maybe out there, right? Jesus is coming. Hope you look it up. I am. God bless.
To Today we have with us a very distinguished lineup of esteemed speakers who I'm sure will enlighten us on a very complex, very timely, and very urgent issue. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to begin this morning's event, it is my pleasure to invite Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Norian Mai, the chairman of Perdana Global Peace Foundation, to say a few words and to welcome you. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, President, Perdana Global Peace Foundation, and the fourth Prime Minister of Malaysia, our advisors, the Honorable Tun Dr. Siti Hasmah Muhammad Ali, the Honorable Tan Sri Dr. Ais Yatim, Special Advisor to the Malaysian Government on the socio-cultural matters, Tan Sri, Puan Sri, Datuk, Datin, Your Excellencies, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. It is a great honor for the Perdana Global Peace Foundation, PGPF, to host this international conference on the New World Order, the recipe for war or for peace. Let me first introduce PGPF to you. The foundation was established to provide a forum or a vehicle for serious, active, and sustained campaign to rid the world of war by having it criminalized, thereby encouraging global peace. We have hosted many international conferences and brought together a diverse group of intellects and thinkers, doers, movers, and shakers. Over the years, PGPF has undertaken this campaign in many ways, by a simple act of taking drinking water to Gaza, to mission to Somalia, and by providing aid and comfort to the many thousand who remain innocent victims of wars. As you can see, the full list of our activities is written in our program book. This conference today is yet another in our effort at attaining our goals. The theme, the New World Order, a recipe for war or peace, can be looked at in many ways. To the man in the street, it could mean a new and a better way of life, perhaps better facilities and better standard of living, but it is not as straightforward as that. This term, the New World Order, or NWO, which has been used by political leaders, is a generic term used to refer to a worldwide conspiracy that is being manipulated by extremely powerful and influential groups of individuals that include the wealthiest, major political leaders, corporate giants, and even some from a royal household. Their aim is to create a world authoritarian government with no nationalistic or regional boundaries that disobey their agenda. They seek complete and total domination over every human being on earth, while at the same time working towards drastically reducing the world population by 2/3. The NWO will have a common code of laws, and those who fall foul of the system will be starved to death or declared outlaws, whereby they can be targets for anyone wishing to kill them. This group has existed almost undetected by a complex web of deceit and a clever use of specially crafted and scripted agenda that sway public opinion. Such are the lengths they will go to achieve their ends. The masses are constantly persuaded to believe in ideologies which eventually lead to support to their actions. We can see this happening in certain countries where aggressors are lifted as heroes of democracy and freedom. They use fear as a tool in their methods. One technique used is by the creation of problems in a chosen countries. They provide the fund for the training and assembling of an opposition to create turmoil in established sovereign countries. The legitimate leaders are demonized and the conflict get international attention by the media, which, as we all know, are in their hands. We know of many such nations that has become victims of this ploy. It works because they have complete control over events. Right at this moment, the world is gripped by the tension between European Union and Russia and the turmoil in the Middle East with bloodbath in Iraq and in Syria. Ladies and gentlemen, historians have discovered that most of the major wars, political upheavals, economic meltdown of the past century, and perhaps even earlier, were planned and instigated by people behind the NWO. Even the two world wars, the Russian Revolution, the rise of Nazi Germany, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, were all orchestrated. The end of the Soviet Union and its Eastern Bloc were all planned. So too the Gulf Wars. Some even suggest that the French Revolution was planned by them. Now we are reminded that, I quote, "Whatever happened in politics, you can be sure that someone wanted it to happen and made it happen." That statement came from none other than the US President Franklin Roosevelt. Clearly, that served to remind us that the strong and the mighty will impose their will on the less powerful, the weak, the sick, and the lame. It is not just in the political field that the people behind NWO works. They have their hands in the corporate field as well, in banking, in science and technology, and in all other endeavors that make our present system function. They seek control over the mineral wealth of the world. They have thought of all aspects, leaving no stone unturned or no situation neglected. Now, can this world, made up of 7 billion people, speaking many languages, having many religious beliefs and customs and traditions, succumb to this new world order that is perhaps controlled by a small group of people with vested interests? What is even more puzzling is that we don't even know who they are. This is perhaps the grand design to rule the world, to grab the riches of the world so that they have the ultimate power to rule, to impose their will over all that they survey. This is what can lead to fear, which, as we know, can be manipulated by the people behind the NWO. Now, what motivates the NWO leaders are the acquisition and the consolidation of even more wealth, natural resources, total political powers, and control over people. To them, anyone standing in their way will be dealt with, for the loss of innocent life are mere collateral. I'm most keen to listen to the panel of experts to better understand what is at stake. Today, we have the best brain to interpret the current situation in the world, a world filled with conflict, especially in the Middle East, in Eastern Europe, in Africa, Latin America, and even in Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, to end my speech, I would like to record my appreciation to the prime mover of this conference, Chancellor Dr. Samsudin Hitam, my board of trustees, and all my staff. Lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to also express my sincere thanks to many people who have come here today to listen and find out what the New World Order is all about. I hope that it can be a recipe for peace and certainly not for war. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to now invite Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, the fourth Prime Minister of Malaysia and President of the Perdana Global Peace Foundation, to address us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Norin Mai, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rais Yatim Wan Sri, distinguished speakers, guests, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me the task of introducing the subject for our forum today. And the subject is the New World Order, whether it is a recipe for war or peace. We often hear leaders talking about a new world order. And for most of us, when somebody speaks about a new world order, we visualize a better world, a world where we live a much more prosperous life, free of oppression and the like. But actually, the idea of a new world order is not new. It is very old. And you heard from Tan Sri Norin Mai just now what kind of new world order was first conceived. Basically, it is about having a world government. We should abolish all states, all nations, all borders, but instead have only one world government. And that world government is to be by certain people, elites, people who are very rich, very intelligent, very powerful in many ways. They are the ones who will govern the world. There was not much talk about democracy or choice of leaders. Instead, there was to be a government by these elites who will impose their rules on everyone in this world. And for those who are unwilling to submit to them, there will be punishment. This is the concept initially, but many have not read or do not know about this concept. But it is important for us to remember that this new world order is an old world order. It's something that was conceived more than 100 years ago. And yet it is being repeated by powerful politicians from powerful countries that it is new. We should be asking ourselves whether the people who originally conceived this idea has given up hope on achieving a world government. If we study carefully recent history, we will know that there are people who still wish to set up a world government where this government rules the whole nation, the whole world, without regard for nations or states, there would be no borders. And when I say no borders, I'm quite sure you remember lots of talk about globalization and a borderless world. Globalization and a borderless world is an expression that relates to the concept of the New World Order as it was first conceived. They want to have a borderless world, and they want to have globalization, which means, of course, without borders, there would be no states, there would be no nations, there would be just one world. And that one world will be ruled by whom? There is no mention that it would be ruled democratically by election of leaders. That is left unsaid. But what we do see is the dominance of the people who enunciated this new world order. If we look carefully, we see that to a certain extent, this new world order is already with us. We live in a world today that is dominated by the powerful, the mighty, the people with the guns, accepting that the guns now are much more sophisticated. We have reached a stage where certain people have arms which could wipe out the population of this world. The nuclear weapons have that capacity. And the nuclear weapons are in the hands of certain countries and certain people. Therefore, the world is frightened of them. And when the world is frightened of them, the world becomes submissive to them. And when the world submits to them, effectively, there is one government in this world. And indeed, we see the promotion of this concept of a new world order through what is being done today. We know, for example, that politically there is no freedom for any nation. When we talk about free speech, freedom of and human rights, etc., it is with regard to your own national government. Internationally, there is no free speech. If you say the wrong thing, you will be taken to task and you will be vilified in the international press, which is under their control. If you say the wrong thing, action may be taken against you. And the wrong things are those said which seems to negate or reject the idea of a new world order, which is already in being today. You can criticize your own government, but not the power that is running the world today. So we find that already there is a new world government enforced with powerful military forces and a willingness to subvert and undermine the governments of all countries. Politically, we see them urging every country to undergo regime change, except for those who are already submitting to them. There must be regime change so that all governments in this world would submit to this world power, this world government. And if you refuse to change your government, you will be persuaded through propaganda, through actions including invasion and occupation, and the removal of the head of that government to be replaced by one that submits to the most powerful nation. In other words, the one who will accept the concept of a new world order. This is happening today. We see this in the Middle East. They are fighting each other and installing governments which are unstable, and because they are unstable, they are dependent upon others, and those who can give them support also exert authority over them. So through political means, we are seeing the new world order being carried out. What about the economic power? That too is being used in order to create a new world order. We see today the idea of a globalized world, a world without borders. That is not so easily done, and so the approach in some cases is through various forms of agreement. We talk about free trade agreement. Today we are seeing an attempt to have the TPPA, for example, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. It's not a partnership. All the countries which participate in this agreement will be subjected to more rules than they ever had before. In other words, the TPPA is not about free trade. It is about trade subjected to all kinds of laws and regulation, exposing countries to being sued in international courts which are set up separately by others. So the TPPA is not about free trade, it is about regulated trade. Once you have regulated trade, then of course the most powerful economy will dominate that system conceived under the TPPA. So you can see that an attempt is being made to control commerce, international commerce, and the well-being, the economic well-being of nations through so-called free trade agreement. Free trade agreement which is not free at all. Many fail to notice this because it was called, or it is called, free trade. But actually it should be called regulated trade. But that is not all. We find that if you are recalcitrant, you don't like to conform, then you may have sanctions placed against you. We see already countries like Iran and Russia facing the application of sanctions on their trade with other countries. But the sad thing is that in the attempt to apply sanctions to this country, they have to apply sanctions to even their friends, to even people, countries which are not their target. For example, when sanctions are placed against Iran, Malaysia also faces sanctions. Because if we try to trade with Iran, then we will receive all kinds of punitive action, like closing down our banks and other things. So the attempt to control the world through the most powerful nation is already on in not just the political field, but also in the economic field. Then there is the moral values that are being promoted. You are not allowed to have your own value system. You must conform to the new value system as conceived by the powerful. We should have freedom. and freedom should be unlimited. And we see the promotion of values which are against our own beliefs, against our religion. But this we must have, because these are the values that is promoted by the most powerful nation in the world. We must allow all kinds of freedom, including equality between men and women, to the extent that there is no necessity for men to marry women or women to marry men. They can marry among the same sex if they so wish. That is against our value system, but we have to accept that also. And there are other values which are being undermined because of the need to set up one single system of moral values. The stress is always on equality, on freedom of speech. And so we have what happened to this magazine called Charlie Hebdo from France. And because of freedom of speech, this magazine has a right to insult other people. Now, if you allow insulting people as part of the freedom of speech, you will have no peace. I cannot walk up to a person and curse him or call dirty names about his parents simply because it is my freedom. I think the freedom of the people who receive this kind of treatment would be to bash you on your nose. But the interpretation of freedom is that you can say anything, insult anybody you like, because freedom is the most important thing in this system of moral values that is being promoted. So along all the three areas, you see an attempt to undermine everything that we believe in, undermine our politics, undermine our economy, and undermine our moral values. When this happens, of course, if all were to accept all this as the necessary thing for our lives, then there would be the need to submit to one single government, a world government. And this world government will govern without our consent. They will govern according to their own concept of governance, their own ideas about freedom, their own ideas about what is right and what is wrong. And when this happens, of course, then the new world order would have succeeded fully. What we are seeing today is a process towards that direction, the establishment of a world government that is responsible to nobody. We would have no choice at all as to who should rule this world. We have to accept the rulers because they consider themselves as the most suitable people to rule this world. So this idea about the new world order is still in place. The new world order meaning that there should be one world government and they should rule according to their whims and fancies. What we are seeing today happening in the Middle East, happening in many other countries, including in Malaysia, where interference is being made in the political process of this country, all these are in the interest of establishing the new world order. Now, would this bring peace to us? Or would it cause wars to be fought in many places. We already see wars being fought in the Middle East, wars were fought in Vietnam, and in many other parts of the world, because of the need for the people who are promoting the New World Order to establish their government of the world. And not only wars, we see all kinds of subversion taking place, undermining our moral values to the extent that we become helpless, unable to do anything. And the peace that we will get from this is the peace of the graveyard, because the intention also is to reduce the number of people in this world. At the time when the New World Order was enunciated, the population of this world was only 3 billion. The intention was to reduce it to 1 billion. Now the population of the world is 7 billion. There will be a need to kill many billions of people, or to starve them to death, or to prevent them from giving birth, in order to reduce the population of this world. This is what is in store for most. For those who will suffer and die, there will be the peace of the grave. But would there be war? Of course there would be war. We are seeing this already. Not wars in the countries which are promoting the New World Order, but in other places. The wars are meant to weaken and destabilize small nations so that they will succumb, they will submit to the New World Order as proposed by the powerful nations. So both possibilities are there. There would be the peace of the grave, or there would be war, and the world will be in a state of turmoil. We are very grateful that so many thinkers are here today to give their views of the New World Order. I have tried to explain what the New World Order is all about, but I am quite sure that we will learn more about the New World Order from the eminent speakers who have been invited. So with that, I would like to say thank you to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to launch the international conference on the New World Order, whether it is a recipe for war or for peace. I thank you.
Thank you to Young Amat Bahagia Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Thank you for your words of wisdom.